morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the Jimmy Mathis Show. Lawmakers are making their way back to Washington right now following their August recess, and a lot of them will be attending 9/11 memorials come Thursday. But the real question that needs to be asked is why? What was the point of all of this as we look back 13 years later? Was it really to kill 3,000 Americans, or bring down the symbolic World Trade Center, or to hit the Pentagon? Or was it deeper? Was it to get America to change her way of life? If it's the latter, that mission has been accomplished. And now, as we look at a caliphate being assembled in the Middle East with our Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense saying that ISIS is an imminent threat to America, shouldn't our lawmakers be doing more? But they're not. You look over the last 13 years. As Americans, we have done our part. We've involuntarily given up civil liberties. We've given up freedom. We've given up liberty. And at the end of the day, isn't that what this was all about? To get America to change her way of life. And didn't we capitulate?
September 11th, 2001, a war of terror was launched against the West, and in dramatic form, the United States of America was put on notice from Islamic jihadists. The message was clear. American freedom and individual liberty would not be tolerated. 9/11 was the declaration. Subsequent attacks would be levied each and every day moving forward, but they were less grandiose in scale. Bullets were not fired. The majority of Americans didn't even notice that the war was waging on. The smoke cleared, memorials were built, and memories faded of this horrific day. These images were removed from TVs across the country, and life went on, as did the war. But this was a war like no other, a complicated battlefield where at times it was difficult to separate friend versus foe, invader from protector. The founders feared this. They tried to warn of the dangers of surrendering liberty for the illusion of security. But the populace knew better. These were new and unprecedented times. The framers were never dealing with this when they were drafting the Bill of Rights. Times change, countries evolve. And one by one, we voluntarily started surrendering those very rights for just that, safety and security. New massive agencies were created with much power and little oversight. Police departments morphed into sub-armies, and the individuals' movements and activities began to be tracked and traced. Slowly, the victims became the suspects. Years of financial uncertainty distracted tens of millions from the ongoing invasion of liberty. The protectors became the providers, and the populace continued to be preoccupied. As the years passed, a generation was indoctrinated. As 2014 comes to an end, that generation of Americans will head to the polls for the first time in their lives. They are 18 now. They were 5 then. These Americans may not remember where they were when the towers fell, but they definitely don't remember what America was prior to that morning. A nation that was founded on the relationship of consent between the governed and the government has been reversed over the last 13 years. Tragedy has justified tyranny. The reason for the revolution has been forgotten. Massive door-to-door warrantless searches in Boston to find 2 suspects. Data capturing and collection of all Americans, regardless of suspicion of guilt. An American citizen assassinated via drone by his own government without ever being so much as charged with anything. Choice has been replaced with mandates. How intertwined are all these things? The answer lies in the original question. What was the purpose of the attacks to begin with? Kill liberty, bankrupt a superpower, and erode her credibility on the world stage. Individual liberty and freedom has contracted. Government has exploded. The police state has exploded. Massive data mining has exploded. Surveillance has exploded. And rights articulated in the Bill of Rights are fragmented remains of the contract between the people and the people's government. Maybe we all have a little more in common than they would like for you to believe.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. I'm Jimmy Mathis. We're right now joined by Faheem Younus, a senior fellow at the University of Baltimore, a regular on the radio show with me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for
I
having me.
appreciate it. We look back 13 years later, which seems like yesterday, and you look at the ways we have changed as a people, the way we fight wars, the way we treat our own citizens, and you look at this video right here, and one of the things that we've spent a lot of time talking about is the way that we use drones. Nobody wants to put boots on the ground, as they say. But with the development of drone technology, it has made it easier. This is something that you and I have spent a lot of time talking about. It's made it easier to get into conflicts without maybe fully thinking them through.
Jimmy, my take is that 13 years ago, when this heinous crime was committed against our country, against my country, I felt violated. As an Ahmadi Muslim, I felt that somebody violated the core values of Islam. But 13 years down the road, I'm very saddened to see that in the process, we have also compromised our core values as Americans, the core value of liberty and justice for all. I believe that the drones have not made us safer. I think in the past 13 years, we've cheapened a few things. We've cheapened the word terrorist. Now everybody's calling each other terrorist and nobody really knows the definition. We've cheapened human life. What drones have done, remember 13 years ago, Al-Qaeda was at the brink of Arabian Sea, out there in Middle East, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan. After 13 years, Al-Qaeda is now on Mediterranean Sea, thousands of miles away. Our people are not as safe as we were 13 years ago. If you go back and look at the number of soldiers that we've lost in Afghanistan, 75% of all soldiers were lost, the lives were lost after 2008, after the drone attacks surged. So this whole concept that somehow drones have made us safer is inaccurate.
No, we're not just using them on terrorists. I mean, we have drones right now that are doing assassinations of American citizens without ever having charges formally brought against them, never being adjudicated. This comes back to the liberties and the rights that we allegedly hold so dear that we have voluntarily given up because of this.
That's exactly what I believe, that in the process we have compromised the value of liberty and justice for all, because my family, some of who don't live within the borders of the United States of America, they mock at me. When I go and tell them about the Pledge of Allegiance, they say, well, your values end on your borders. Liberty and justice should be universal. Someone from the Defense Department told the New York Times a few years ago that for every meaningful militant target in a drone attack, we sacrifice 50 civilian lives.
Right.
And that is a huge number.
Well, and that's the way that I started the show off, was what was the real purpose of this? Was it to kill 3,000 people, or was it to change the American way of life? And when you look at the police state that we live in right now, you look at basic civil liberties that we have voluntarily given up to make sure that this won't happen again. And as horrific as this day was, we don't live in a country where there's daily mall bombings or bus bombings.
Absolutely.
But we fear that. We fear because we never want to see this again. And we give up the very liberty and the very freedom that we hold so dear.
That's absolutely true. I think the process has really compromised our own safety, liberty. In this process, we have reduced the threshold of war. You know, you're looking at it from a very micro level, which is absolutely true. A gentleman walking in the mall, a kid playing in the playground. But go to the macro level. What is there for China or Russia or other countries? What's stopping them? You know, they can launch a drone war against somebody tomorrow. We've really reduced the threshold of this war by saying this is not a war.
But do they even have to launch anything? Do they need another bomb? I mean, the way I look at it is we're under attack every single day. Just because something doesn't go boom doesn't mean that we're not walking around in fear. It doesn't mean that we're not driving up unrepayable debt. Doesn't mean that we're not living in that police state. So just the very threat of this fear is enough for them to win at the end of the day.
That's exactly right. You know, they've changed the way we think. You know, they've changed the way we act and we react. I'll tell you that I left my homeland, Pakistan, because of persecution against my sect, Ahmadiyya Muslim community. And I came and made this place my home for the very same freedoms that here I will not have to worry about the same things. In Pakistan, somebody reads your emails, somebody taps your phone calls.
Which is what they're doing in America
That's
right
exactly
now.
right. So now, when my beard is half gray, I don't know where else can I go, Jimmy.
Right.
I cannot go and find another motherland. It's too late for me, and that America has changed over the past 15 years.
And that's what's so sad. There is nowhere to escape to.
There is nowhere to escape.
I want to talk about ISIS briefly. We discussed this on the
Right.
on the radio. You look at the caliphate that is being constructed. You look at really a lack of response from the United States. Maybe that is the right response. But when you have Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense saying this is a real threat to America, should we be taking a more aggressive, proactive stance, or is that how we got into the situation to begin with?
ISIS, again, these things are not snapshots. There is context to everything. The way I look at it, the collateral damage of 2003 in Iraq is the ISIS of 2013. It's the same children who were left orphaned at the age of 12 who are recruited by ISIS today. So number one, this goes deep. Number two, yes, we have to neutralize them. You know, this is a very real threat. One can say that there are only 10 to 15,000 people, but they have a lot of sympathy on the ground. The other context to this, which is fascinating to me, that people don't talk, it's, you know, the same old adage that dog bites man is not news, man bites dog, that is news, right?
Right.
So this caliphate is getting a lot of attention. What I want our viewers to know is a peaceful caliphate that has existed in the Muslim world for over 100 years in the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. The current fifth caliph is Mirza Masroor Ahmad, and he has been going all across the globe talking about peace and harmony and interfaith dialogue and justice for all. And we need to, that is how you neutralize these people. I do not think that we can neutralize them in the long run with bombs and bullets. This is an idea we are fighting, Jimmy. We are not fighting human beings.
But it's beyond an ideal. It's beyond an ideology. I mean, when you have them murdering tens of thousands of women and children, burying men alive, it does go beyond an ideology, I guess. And
this is a real threat, no question.
Right,
but deep down, this is an ideology. You know, how do you neutralize that ideology? Your bombs will go and kill 5,000, 8,000 people, but the seed of idea will remain there. And that has to be replaced with the better idea that, look, your other Muslim family believes in this caliphate, and this is how it will neutralize and help you engage in that idea.
Which is why our goal from the very beginning on this wasn't to necessarily neutralize it, just slow it.
Yeah.
We knew where it was going. It was just a matter of hopefully it takes a little longer.
Yeah, but that strategy is like capitalism 101 because, you know, you keep borrowing till it collapses in the end.
Right.
So I'm afraid of that strategy, which is this degrade the enemy every 2 years. It's not going to work. We know it's not working. The enemy, the virus, is only spreading. This is the classical 101 capitalism. You can't continue to borrow to pay off your debt. At some stage, it's going to be too much.
Faheem, in your work, what's the message that you're trying to get across to people?
My message is that don't demonize a whole group of people because of a few. ISIS does not represent me. We are the members of Ahmadiyya Muslim community. We've been around for over 100 years. We have a caliphate. We have the message of justice, equality, interfaith harmony, and loyalty to the country where we live in. And that message needs to be projected in order for us to make a better society.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Take a look at a little segment we like to call Word on the Street.
I was like 5.
You were 4.
Yeah, I don't remember anything though.
4th grade art class.
I was in school.
I was in school.
You were in school?
Yeah, I was in school, and I heard they say report to your family.
Where
I
were
was school shopping for the kids in Walmart in New Jersey.
I was in school, and my principal, Dr. Kason, came over the intercom, and she had told us it was a code red.
I was about to be 13, 14.
Why are you cringing?
Because that's so sad. I didn't like learning about that in school.
I was in school. I think I was in the 12th grade. I was in my math class. I remember though.
Ooh, a friend of mine found out that her family was in the building, and tragically they were lost.
The question that we're asking people is, what is liberty and freedom to you personally?
What is liberty and freedom?
Yes.
I guess it's the ability to do the things that you want to do and go where you want to go and say what you want to say without fear of reprisal.
It's kind of tricky because they say you have freedom and then they kind of take it away a little bit.
I don't know. I don't think it's free. I don't know.
You're free to do what you want to a safe extent.
Just like you can do whatever you want to do, and it's like you're free.
It's just like free will to live life, basically. Just to live how we want to live. That's how I think. That's how I live.
Would you give up liberty and freedom for security?
Why do I have to choose?
But have we given some of these freedoms and liberties up in the name of safety? We've done it voluntarily. Have we done that?
Yeah, especially I would think anytime you go to the airport, you realize we've given some of it up.
Does that bother you, or is that just the world that we're living in these days?
The world we living in these days?
So you concede that part of freedom and liberty in the name of safety?
Yes.
I refuse to choose, but hopefully it doesn't have to come to that.
Are you going to vote this midterm?
Yeah, it's my goal.
Or does the fact that you have some oversight, some surveillance into, your daily life, does that bother you?
No, I feel like I'm free.
Are you bothered by the NSA tracking your phone calls, keeping track of who you talk to, how long? Does that bother you?
I feel to an extent a little bit because I feel like there should be, I do think there should be monitoring.
Do you have a cell phone?
I do.
Does it bother you that you have the NSA, that you have capturing of information? Again, to keep you safe.
Yeah. It's not like I have anything to hide or anything, so I don't really mind that much. I don't know.
You have a password on it?
I do.
What's your password?
Should I tell you guys?
You have nothing to hide.
I don't, but it's my personal stuff.
There are certain things that we have given up in the name of safety, right? Because we never want to see that day repeat itself. There are certain things that we've given up, whether it's them tracking our phones or our movements. And we do that voluntarily at a certain level, right?
I think so. Yeah. But it's really just the government. We're under the government. They have all this stuff under control, and it's like we can either go with it or not. Like even with down to, like food stamps and schooling, we can decide on what school you want to go to or how much, I guess, money you can get from the government or whatever. They have all this free stuff, basically, and you just have to find it, really. It's just like you can live how you want to live.
Well, isn't that contradictory to freedom? When you become reliant on somebody, for whatever it may be, that's not freedom, right?
And when you dig deeper into it, no, it's not.
So collectively, we go, okay, we're going to give up a little bit of freedom, a little bit of liberty, and we're going to entrust our government to make sure that this never happens again. Sure. And now we look back 13 years later, do we regret that decision?
Me, man, personally?
Sure.
My personal opinion, yes.
In the name of safety, why won't you give that up right now?
There's a difference. I don't want people that know me going through my stuff, but if the government's going through our stuff, I don't care. I'm just another person to them, so they can go through my stuff all they want.
That's a tough question.
So you don't have a password or whatever on your phone to get in?
I do, yeah.
Why?
So they can't look at it, I guess. I don't know.
What are you hiding? We're joking, but
yeah.
But what are you hiding?
Nothing. I don't know.
You guys both probably walked into that building right there. Are you concerned about a suicide bomber blowing you up?
No.
No.
So there's a role for government to make sure that we're safe.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any option but to have the safeguards that we have now.
I feel that that's for our safety. To be quite honest with you. That makes me feel more safe.
And if they need to collect certain information, we understand that because we want to be kept safe.
Yeah.
And you're okay with that?
Yes, I am.
Do you trust your government?
For the most part, I'd say no.
So you trust the government?
I wouldn't say you trust them, but I guess in a way you do.
So you trust the federal government?
I don't at all. I don't. You just live in the world. It's their world. I just live in it.
But you would concede civil liberties to them to make sure that they protect you?
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody else who's going to do it.
But I'm okay with it because I'd rather them go through everybody's stuff and find a terrorist than not go through anybody's.
So we sacrifice liberty in the name of safety.
A little bit, yeah.
So you would be willing to give up some liberty in the name of safety?
Well, yeah, of course.
We've gone through 2 very expensive wars. We have division at an all-time high, and we've conceded many civil liberties in the name of what we were just talking about, safety. Do you check it off as a win in the terrorist category?
Nah, I don't.
Hurts too much, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's too. We paying for it, and it tightens up the community. We being penalized for what they fighting for.
You look at everything that goes on in the news these days, and I say these days, I'm going over the last 10 years, okay? There's a lot of division in this country, there's no question about that. Is it possible, with the conversation that we're having right now, that there is a hell of a lot more that unites us than divides us?
Yes. Yes.
Welcome back to the program. Changing things up a little bit at Fort McHenry right now as Maryland continues to participate in celebration. Looking back on the War of 1812, the Blue Angels back in town for the 2nd year in a row. They were nice enough to invite me up for a little flight in the number 7 jet.
When you think of the United States Navy, you probably think excellence. That emotion is the mission of the Navy's elite flight demonstration squadron, the Blue Angels.
Quite frankly, we wish we could do this more often. It's unfortunate that we only get the Blues every 2 years. So it's but we understand it's a key piece to getting our message out, getting the Navy's message out, getting the Department of Defense's message out to what we're doing for national defense and how we're forwarding the national mission, security mission of this country.
Since 1946, the Blue Angels have enhanced the Navy's recruiting power, while also acting as an international ambassador of goodwill. Their precise flying is an impressive demonstration of the aviation skills possessed by the men and women of the Navy. All of the Blue Angels' aerial demonstrations are different variations of routine military maneuvers.
You know, we don't do any tricks, we don't do stunts. Everything that we do in our F-18s, they're just refinements of basic techniques that we teach to every naval aviator.
An estimated 11 million spectators will view the squadron at air shows each year. Very few will have the opportunity to experience the sheer power and military might of the F-18 Hornet. So when I was offered a ride in the Blue Angel number 7 jet, I was quick to punch my ticket.
I want to ensure that you're familiar with the aircraft that you're going to be flying in today.
The F-18 can easily break the sound barrier, topping out at just under Mach 2. The supersonic jet has been a workhorse for the Navy since 1978. While the Blue Angels are a flight demonstration squadron, the number 7 jet is still a military aircraft. It can be ready to serve in combat in about an hour. Valued at $40 million per plane, I was fully briefed before taking the ride of a lifetime.
And I'll point this switch out to you as soon as we get in the aircraft.
Instructions were clear and to the point. I was told any handles that were painted yellow and black would either make something come off the plane or me leave it. After covering safety procedures, breathing, and tricks to keep from blacking out, it was time to see what 17,000 pounds of thrust can do.
Take a deep breath. Ready, hit it.
It can get you to 7,000 feet in about 3 seconds.
I'm going to roll this up on the side here. You can over how smooth this is.
Fighting excessive gravitational pull is a full-body workout.
And we're upside down as we continue that roll all the way through.
Under 2 Gs is equivalent to a serious amusement park ride.
All right, here we go. So go ahead, squeeze those legs. Take a deep breath. Ready, hit it.
At 7 Gs, without manipulating your own body's muscles, you're passing out.
The C portion of the hic, it closes off your epiglottis and closes off your windpipe there. Okay.
Lieutenant Tickle took me through each of the maneuvers the Blue Angels performed during an air show.
So, have you seen the Blue Angels perform in the past? Yes, several times. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate the diamond roll.
From air show maneuvers to military exercises,
You hit it. 1, 2.
the only thing left to do is something few get to experience:
pull 7 Gs. Respect for the men and women of the United States Armed Services is a given. To actually touch and feel it in person was an absolute honor.
How'd I do? You did great. You did great. You held up. We pulled 7.2 Gs, and you seemed to do that just fine. So it was a good ride.
When the Blue Angels fly, they will inspire some. For others, they will demonstrate the skill and power of the United States Navy. But one thing is for sure, they will put on one amazing show.
All right, here we go. Rolling upside down.
Everybody, thank you so much for taking time out of your Sunday morning to join us. Join us next week for a slightly lighter show as we take a trip out to the Strasburg Railroad and take a look at one of the few coal-fired locomotives still running in America today. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next Sunday.